What's up, everybody? It's your host, Rose Gold, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Heartbreak Hill Podcast. Today, I got a special treat. Don't go nowhere.
Yo, yo, yo! It's your girl Rose Gold, and thank you for tuning in for an episode of Heartbreak Hill Podcast. Here, we are breaking hearts and blowing minds, one conversation at a time. Catch us weekly on all podcast platforms. Beginning February of 2022, catch us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Comcast Channel 17. Don't forget, if you have an email or a question you would like to have read on air, please send us an email to hbhp@heartbreakhillpodcast.com. While you're at it, don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at Heartbreak Hill Podcast. Now let's break some hearts and blow some minds, shall we?
Now, as I said earlier, I have a very, very, very special topic today. But before I get into any of that, I want to just say thank you to everybody who has been following the podcast, as well as me personally, who has wished me well in terms of my graduation. Okay, it has been a very, very, very long time coming with my graduation, and it's something that I have definitely worked very, 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 very hard for. So today the topic is going to be lies of the enemy, low self-esteem. I wanted to start this year off with the podcast kind of being something that is going to be practical things that you can use to help. More so in the way of transforming the way we think and the way we communicate with each other and the way that we teach our children to communicate with each other. Okay, so the topic of low self-esteem is a very, very, very personal topic for me because it's something that I struggled with for many, 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 many years. And I can remember allowing people to do things that I knew wasn't right. Or I can remember allowing things to go past me that I knew wasn't right. And it was mostly resulting or based in having low self-esteem. Okay, now I want to go ahead and dive right in. There's a poem in honor of Women's Day that I think is going to kick off this topic very, very well. And this is a poem that my stepmother, Debbie, love you so much, Debbie, sent to me on March 8th to, in honor of Women's Day. And here's it goes. It goes, here's to the woman. Here's to the woman who knows where she's going and will keep on until she gets there. Who knows not only what she wants from life, but what she has to offer in return. Here's to the woman who is loyal to family and friends, who expects no more from others than she is willing to give. Here's to the woman who gives the gifts of her thoughtfulness, who shows her caring with a word of support, her understanding with a smile, a woman who brings joy to others just by being herself. The author of that piece is unknown, but when she sent me that, I felt that it was very, 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 it was enlightening. It made me feel good as a woman. It made me feel good to be a woman. But it also outlined to me our topic for today, which is rooted in self-esteem. Okay. Now, the Lies of the Enemy series is going to be a 3-part series where we are going to strictly just talk about low self-esteem, right? But we're not going to just talk about, what it is. We're going to talk about how to cure it, how we can see it. And that kind of is what our topic is around today. Okay. So part 1, what is low self-esteem and how it shows up in other areas of our life? Now, a lot of us have parents. If you're a 90s baby like me, you may have parents or grandparents that were born maybe between the 40s and the 70s, right? And if you're a person of color, then you know that during that time frame, much of what was going on in America and pretty much throughout the entire world in terms of people of color and people in general were a lot of oppression. There was a lot of wars. There was, a lot of laws and things that were not in place that can give us the type of life that we live now, right? And so there were no classes. There were no online resources where people can go and they can learn about self-esteem. In fact, during those times, it wasn't even a main and vital part in therapy like it is today. Like when you go in for therapy and you do assessments and things like that, they assess your levels of self-esteem and how you interact with others. Those are relatively new practices that were not involved when our parents and grandparents were growing up, not even really in the church. Now, and more so in the last 20 or so years, churches are now starting to come out more and talk about self-esteem and the spiritual aspect of it. But saying all of that to say, most of us, if you're like me, come from a background that does not know what low self-esteem is, does not know how to advocate for high self-esteem, and we don't know how to detect or diagnose low self-esteem. Okay. During that time frame, most of the people who raised us were focused based on survival. That's it. Focusing basically on giving our children their needs and their wants and their desires at that time. There's really no room to get into, self-esteem, especially during an era, like I said, the 40s through the 70s, where teen motherhood was so prevalent. Self-esteem it took a back burner. So before we get into what low self-esteem is, I want to talk about self-esteem versus confidence, okay? Self-esteem and confidence are not the same thing, and it's very important that before we get into this series, that we define the two, okay? Because there are going to be times where you hear me using the words, but I'm not using them interchangeably, okay? When I'm talking about self-esteem, I'm talking about self-esteem. When I'm talking about confidence, I'm talking about confidence, okay? So, what is confidence? Confidence is a noun, just like self-esteem, but it is the firm trust and assurance in something, okay? You can have confidence in your car. You can have confidence in your friends. You can have confidence in your job. It's a firm trust, and it is an assurance. You know for a fact that this, whatever it is going to be true. It's going to come to pass. If I have confidence in my car, I have confidence that my car will take me, okay? Self-esteem, okay, is confidence in your own worth and abilities, okay? I'm going to say that again. Confidence is a firm trust and assurance in something, okay? Person, place, or thing. Self-esteem, which is also a noun, is confidence in your own worth, abilities, self-respect, okay? I want that to be very, very clear to us, because it is very, very possible to have confidence without having self-esteem. Okay. And that's why a lot of times we are telling people to be confident, but we're forgetting about the underlying self-esteem piece. You can be a very confident person. You can have firm trust and assurance in things, people, places, and things, but self-esteem, that firm assurance has to be within yourself. That firm trust has to be within self. Okay. Now, when you say within self, what do I mean by that? Self-esteem in your own worth or abilities. Self-esteem being defined as your own worth and abilities. You cannot define that yourself. Here's what I mean. If self-esteem is confidence in your own worth and abilities, that's what self-esteem is. It's confidence in your own self and abilities. How can you give that to yourself? Where do you get the confidence to be confident in your own worth and abilities? How do you become true? How do you become assured in yourself? Where does self-esteem come from? There's only one place that you can get self-esteem, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't understand this, for the next 3 weeks, you won't understand anything that I'm saying. If you've never listened to anything that I said before, understand that self-esteem, and I'm going to look at each camera, self-esteem is a spiritual thing. You will never be sure in your own self-worth, in your own self-value, in your own abilities outside of Christ, outside of God, outside of the Holy Spirit. That is the only thing that gives you the trust and the assurance that makes self-esteem. Now, how is that? Because that is the only place where you will get your purpose. If you don't have any purpose or direction of why you're here, what will you have assurance and trust in? What are your abilities for? What are you going to be doing with it? What do you have trust and assurance is that you're cute? What do you have trust and assurance is that you can have sex good? What else are you going to have trust and assurances if it's not in your God-given purpose here on this earth? Don't make a mistake. Don't try to get it elsewhere. And the things that I'm going to line out today for low self-esteem is something that I've experienced. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you an evil person. It doesn't make you a conniving person. But low self-esteem is the direct result of not having a personal relationship with God, without having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. There's only one way to have that type of assurance, and it's through that relationship. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about relationship, knowing why you're here, knowing the will of God. You want to get that one place, okay? One place. Now that we have a framework, ladies and gentlemen, we have a difference. Confidence is over here. Self-esteem is over here, okay? Confidence, you needed to have self-esteem, but you can be confident without having self-esteem. A good example of this, and I'm going to wrap this up, but I just need to say this. A good example of having confidence without having self-esteem is stripping, for example, having an OnlyFans account, prostitution. These are examples of how a person, and men and women do these things, so this is not a woman thing or a man thing, I'm just saying, you can have confidence in low self-esteem. It takes confidence to be able to take your clothes off in front of somebody you don't know and don't care what they have to say about you. It takes confidence to be able to walk up or go somewhere, get dressed up and have somebody sleep with you that you don't know and not care. They may think I'm other. They may think I'm stink. It takes confidence to be able to do that because you are firm, trusted, and assured that you're going ahead and you're going to lay it down. You're going to get paid if you're a prostitute or if you want your OnlyFans account. You are firm and assured. You have a firm trust and an assurance, okay, that you're producing content that's going to get you paid, okay? But the self-esteem piece, seeing yourself how God sees you, that's what self-esteem is. That's my definition of self-esteem, by the way. Seeing yourself how God sees you. If you really seeing yourself how God sees you, you would never do that. If you knew just how powerful and amazing and mighty that God made you, you wouldn't put a monetary value on seeing your body or on having sex with your body. Because anything that has a price is replaceable. And you will know that God says that you're one of a kind. You are perfect in every way, and you don't have to do those things for money because God gave you capabilities and abilities, and he gave you a mind so cold that if you used it, they would probably lock you up. That's how strong that our mind is that we don't even get a chance to use the 400% of it. I'm telling you what I know. But when you know who you are, when you know that God made you to be an amazing masterpiece, you would never put a price tag on your body. You would take that masterpiece of a mind that God gave you and you would use it to make more, triple, quadruple than whatever you could make stripping or OnlyFans or whatever. Now, let me say this disclaimer before I move on. This is not a shot or a jag at strippers or prostitutes, okay? I have friends in both industries, to be honest, very good, hardworking friends, okay? So, and people that down talk strippers and prostitutes, those are usually the people that subscribe. People that down talk women that strip, they usually are the people in the strip clubs, or they have sons or daughters that are in the strip club. So, this is not a dig. Don't be mad if I call your number tonight, because I'm going to call my own number when I get to talk about this low self-esteem. I'm just telling you the truth. An example of low self-esteem and high confidence is selling your body, whether it be for sex or for pictures or whatever the case may be. Okay. And this is why also a partner, if you have a man, he thinks he loves you if he's allowing you to sell your body in that way. But love, God, the Bible says that God is love. And when he sees you, when he really loves you, he will see you how God sees you. He won't want you to show your body. He would think you too valuable to do that. He would be like, nah, baby, I understand you got a bad body and I know there's a lot you can do with it, but let's take this man you got. Let's take this man you got and let's make a couple of men. That's why I say stuff like that. When y'all see me on my personal pages and I say stuff like, that's not your boyfriend, that's your pimp, I'm not being funny or taking shots. I really feel that way because I know, according to the word of God, when a man really loves you, the things that he will be okay with and not okay with, and what love really is. God's word showed me that. Get you some. Okay? And let's move on. We know that you can have confidence without having self-esteem. We know what confidence and self-esteem is, the difference. Okay? So when you have low self-esteem, all it means is that you don't know how valuable you are to God. That's all that low self-esteem means. It doesn't mean, a lot of times people who have low self-esteem, people are afraid to admit that they have low self-esteem or that they struggle with it because they think that it makes them a bad person, or they think that it makes them, a negative person, or I'm horrible because I have low self-esteem. That's not what that means, okay? All it means is that if you have low self-esteem, you don't know how important you are to God. That's all that means. You don't know how valuable you are to God, okay? And this is why high self-esteem is a spiritual principle that has to be taught. Remember earlier when I was talking about our grandparents and parents born in the 40s and the 70s, throughout that era, okay, they weren't able to learn or teach these types of things. Self-esteem is a spiritual principle that has to be taught, okay? Some of the causes of low self-esteem: poverty, okay, being broke, make you have some real low self-esteem; abuse, sexual or physical, if you suffered abuse as a child or even as an adult. Some people don't get abused until they're adults, sexually or physically. That can happen. Anything that you may consider to be trauma within your family or within your life can maybe cause low self-esteem, okay? Teenage pregnancy, okay? I want to touch on that for a second. If you had a child from 19 on down, okay, that was a traumatic experience. People always want to beat down teen moms and say, you shouldn't have been having sex, you shouldn't have been doing this, you shouldn't have been doing that. But nobody talks about the traumatizing experience of a baby having a baby. Do you know that some women rip? Do you know what that does to a grown woman, let alone a child? So if you are a teen mother, if you were a teen mother at some point in time, there may be a chance that you suffer from low self-esteem. And the reason is because during those years, for one, that was a traumatic experience for you having a child at such a young age, such a tender age. And for two, between the ages of like 14 to 19, that development, that's where self-esteem and your identity and all of that begins to form. And when you have a child during those times, you get pushed to the side. You don't get time to figure out who you are and your likes and you don't get that. Okay? That's traumatic for you. So I just want you to know that if you have had a child that at a young age, and I say young as in 19 and down, that qualifies as a traumatic experience for you. Not that the child is a mistake or anything like that. All children come from the Lord, but that's traumatic nonetheless, okay? Keep going. Single parents. That can cause low self-esteem, okay? Reason being is because no one lays down with a man unprotected. Well, most women. No one lays down thinking that they're going to be a single mother. That's not the plan. And a lot of times when we laying down and them legs is up, we're not thinking at all, let alone about being a single mother. But when you have to become one, and maybe a single father too, I don't want to just make this only to women. Becoming a single parent in general is a traumatic experience, and it can cause low self-esteem. And by the way, if you are a single mother, I just want to put this in here. I really, really need you to go and pick up this book. It's called Level Up, and it's by a wonderful author by the name of Kiana Footman. This is not a paid advertisement at all. I read this book, and I am not a single mother. In fact, I don't even have children. I've raised children that were not out of me, okay? This book, Level Up, The Single Mother's Guide to Reclaiming Her Dignity, is for anybody who has ever been in a relationship, anybody who's ever had their heart broken. But specifically, if you find yourself being a single mother for the first time, please go and pick up this book. You see, I have it marked up. There are so many gems in here that changed the way that I thought about things, just as a woman in general, okay? It also touches very, very deeply on self-esteem, but it more so gears towards the single motherhood of self-esteem. Get this book. I'll drop a link after this episode. If you're listening to this on the podcast, there will be a link in the description. There's also a link in the description from 2 weeks ago to purchase that book. I'll put another one, okay? So absent parents, that can also cause low self-esteem, okay? If you have addicted or toxic parents, low self-esteem. Okay, if you have experienced any type of oppression based on your race, based on, your physical abilities, any sort of oppression for things you couldn't control, your religion, anything like that, that can cause very, very low self-esteem. Okay, no matter what caused your low self-esteem, It is never too late to learn a new way to think. It is never too late to build your self-esteem. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the things that I'm going to get ready to name in this list about how low self-esteem shows up, you're going to hit an area in here. Okay. If you don't, you're lying. Okay. Everyone has hit one of these areas at some point in our life. And I'll need you to know that sometimes when a person is telling us about us, it can hurt and it can sting. And if I dial your number, it's out of love. It can always be changed. My goal is to transform your mind. And I want you to see yourself the way that God sees you. When we say breaking hearts, blowing minds, that is not, just some catch, even though it happens to be a catchy little, that wasn't made out of just thin air. That is really the intention of this podcast, to let you know it is never too late to learn another way to think. Okay. So we're talking about this. The importance of this is low self-esteem usually stems from childhood, and it is often never corrected. So there's a bunch of us walking around with low self-esteem that don't know it. Okay. It will cause you to waste your life. Low self-esteem will keep you with people, places, and things that will waste your life. You ever heard of bitterness? That's where bitterness comes from. It comes from realizing that it was you that made the choice. It was you that made the choice to not do something different. That's what bitterness is rooted in a lot of times, because you had a choice and you didn't take it. Low self-esteem will keep you in a rut that you don't have to. It'll keep you in the wilderness that you don't have to be in. Okay. It will leave you to a crushed and lonely life. Lots of people who have low self-esteem don't have anything else besides just their low self-esteem. Okay. Low self-esteem is a generational curse. Okay. That transfers like hair texture or hair shape or head shape, or big lips or noses. It transfers generation to generation to generation. Low self-esteem. And you see it in families saying it's never corrected. Nobody ever addresses it. They may address the confidence, they may address the being broke piece, but that self-esteem somehow always gets left out. But we're going to stop it today. Okay? Now, I've told you what it is. I've told you why we're talking about it. I've told you the difference between low self-esteem and confidence. Now, we're going to break it down. 5 areas of your life that you can pay attention to. Okay? Do you have low self-esteem? Has the enemy made you think that you are not worthy of great things? Okay. And these five areas of your life are going to be friendships, romantic relationships, your general lifestyle, your parenting, and your finances. Okay. Now, all of these categories were specific. Okay. I took a lot of them from the APA website, which is the American Psychologists Association. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it is a required in our field that we are pretty much subscribed to. And so a lot of these areas are how, when you get assessments, these are pretty much a sum of the areas that they'll look at, right? Your friendships, your romantic relationships, your lifestyle, your parenting, your finances. These are kind of things that will naturally come up, okay? Or that can have a direct impact on your mental health, okay? And your self-esteem, okay? All of these categories, are a direct reflection of who you are and how you feel about yourself. Your friendships, your romantic relationships, your lifestyles, your parenting, and your finances, those are all direct relationships. And these are actually 5 areas. A hint, before you date somebody or you think about marrying them, look in these 5 areas as well. That's just a little hint for some episodes and series that we have coming later. But just wanted you to know that, okay? First area, friendships. How does low self-esteem show up in friendships? What does it look like if you're a person with low self-esteem? What does it look like? I'll tell you. Low self-esteem looks like this. In your friendships, you are very competitive. You always want to outdress, outtalk, outthink, outpopularity everyone else. People with low self-esteem have friends that look up to them. You may see this person, or you may have intentionally surrounded with yourself with people who are less than, intentionally be around people who may not be as smart as you, or may not be as attractive to you, as you, but intentionally having friends that are beneath them in some type of way, okay? On a different level. I don't want to use the word beneath, on a different level than them, okay? They are always in secret competition with those around them. Okay. People with low self-esteem always assume people are in competition with them, and they are always in secret competition with others. People with low self-esteem, it shows in their friendships because they will hang around people that they don't actually like. Something they people who have low self-esteem have such a bad idea of who they are that they want to be around somebody, even if it's anybody, even if it's someone that they know that they don't like or doesn't like them, they will be around that person. Okay. People with low self-esteem will talk about their friends in a negative way. Okay. If you have people that you know, we all know people, and they may be cool as a fan, but they're always talking about their friends. And these are people that you see them laugh and kick it and joke with and hang out with. But for some reason, they're always talking bad about this person, talking down on this person. You have no idea why, but they just always have something to say about this person. Low self-esteem. Okay. Also, whoever talks to you about somebody, they're talking about you when you're not there. Just keep that in mind whenever just keep that in mind. All right. They may be dishonest or even steal from their friends. This shows up as a low self-esteem trait because you can be at a place that's so low within you that you steal things from others. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be actual objects like stealing this pen. It could be opportunities. It could be clothing. It could be anything that will dim someone else when I say steal. Okay. So they steal to be dishonest with their friends. Low self-esteem shows up in friendships because people with low self-esteem will embarrass their friends by cracking jokes or maybe using their friends as the butt of jokes. When you see that happening, that's not funny. That's a low self-esteem thing because guess what? People who have self-esteem, they're funny naturally. You don't have to use others as a prop. It's a way to devalue somebody to bring yourself up. I know that it may seem petty, okay? Maybe you've done this. Like I said, it's not about you being a bad person, but cracking jokes on their friends. And maybe it's not even their friends. You ever be around somebody who just always talks about other people in general? You go to a restaurant, you go to the mall, you go to the movies, and they always have something to say about the way someone's dressed. That's not funny. That's a sign of low self-esteem. At a certain age, it's a sign of low self-esteem. I say if you are still at the point where you're at the mall, you're out to eat, and you're saying, look at them shoes. Oh my God. And you're over the age of maybe 18. That's not funny. You have low self-esteem, sir. You have low self-esteem, ma'am. People with high self-esteem are not worried about that kind of thing. Okay? All right. People with low self-esteem will purposely lie to appear above or better than their friends. You ever have a friend, or have you ever done this? I've done this, where you would tell them, yeah, I'm doing this. Yeah, I got a check for 5 bands coming. Or maybe it wasn't a check. I'll use my own personal example. I can remember I was at a place in my life when I was about 20. And I was telling my friend at the time, who wasn't really my friend, but low self-esteem, hanging around people that you don't like. I knew she didn't like me and I didn't really care for her, but I was hanging around her. And I remember lying to her and telling her that I got a raise at my job. Now, I don't know what made me tell a stupid lie like that. Maybe because I was 20 and I just felt that it defined me in some way, that I was getting a raise, that, I didn't, but I lied to her about getting a raise at my job. As petty and stupid as that may seem, there are people in our lives, or maybe we are the people in our lives that lie to others, okay, in order to appear above or superior in some type of way. It's a sign of low self-esteem, okay? Don't be mad. Just embrace the truth and we're going to move on, okay? Always complain about their friends copying them. People with low self-esteem, it'll show up in your friendships because you will always assume that people are copying you. Do you see those people on Facebook who make statuses and say, I had blonde hair, now everybody else has blonde hair? Or people who say, I had these mics on last week, now everybody else want to wear them. Or I was the first person in the Twin Cities to have a Tesla. Now everybody else. When you see people saying stuff like that, I'm only laughing because I don't think people realize how delusional they sound when they say that people are copying them off stuff that was here way before they was born or thought of. How can somebody be copying your crazy self? Ain't nobody copying you. You want somebody to be copying you because you want to feel better about yourself. And it's okay. We're here to learn. But that is a sign of low self-esteem. Okay? People they're copying me. Look, they did that because I did that. We're going to move on. Okay? They will sleep with their friends' partners or spouses. Okay, this is a serious one. This is, not funny business. This is a very serious topic to me because this actually happened to me. I had a girl who was my friend for a very long time. And I'm fidgeting. I still kind of get emotional thinking about it because that was a dark place in my life. When you struggle with low self-esteem, you will take whatever attention you can get. It doesn't matter who it comes from. It doesn't matter how it comes. You will take it. However it's dished to you. And people with low self-esteem sleep with the partners of their friends or their associates or people that they know. Okay. And if you know that person through someone that you like, if you know this man because I brought him around, I'm still your friend or associate. Don't play that you're not really my friend game. If you know this man through her or you know that girl through him, don't play like that. You know that was your friend or your associates, whoever. You were wrong. And it's a sign of low self-esteem because you just want who wants you. Instead of being choosy and having criteria and standards for who's in your life and you date. You just want who wants you. It's a sign of low self-esteem. You're not a hated person. You're not an evil person. You're not a bad person. But you're a person with low self-esteem. Okay? Recognize. Okay? They are all people in their friendships with low self-esteem are always fishing for compliments and validations. And if you don't deliver, you are a hater. Okay. That is my last point in terms of how low self-esteem will show up in friendships. Okay. That last one is if it's not always that a person is a hater if they don't give you a compliment. Sometimes when we have low self-esteem, every time we get something or we have something that we feel like is worth talking about or bragging about, we want compliments from others. And so what we'll do is we'll say, here, look at this pen I got. Look at this. Isn't this cute? And if I don't think it's cute, I might not tell you that it's cute. I say, oh, that's nice. And in your mind, I'm a hater. That's low self-esteem. Some people just, everything that you do, you don't have to people don't have to tell you good job or that's good for it to be good. And I'm not saying that you are doing those things for that, but it is a sign of low self-esteem. If every time you show someone something and they don't give you a compliment about it, you think that they're a hater. That's a sign of low self-esteem. Okay, let's move on. Romantic relationships, dating, and committed relationships. Okay. Here are some signs you may have low self-esteem in this area. Okay. In terms of dating, you may allow someone to commit you before you get to know them. Okay. And here's what I mean. You'll be talking to somebody for a little bit and then they'll say we're together and then that'll just be that. Okay. I can remember being 19 and I dated a guy and he said that he was my boyfriend. And I said I was his girlfriend, and that was just that. Now, we have been talking for a little minute, but that was just that. There was no dating phase. There was no get to know you, meet your family. It was just a decision that was made. And then when he started asking me to do stuff, it was, you're my girlfriend. We're together. We're in a relationship. You see what I'm saying? Not everybody has that intention or motive. I'm just saying it's a sign of low self-esteem if you can be committed to someone without fully getting to know who they are, without fully vetting. A committed relationship. Dating is one thing, but I mean a committed and serious relationship. It shouldn't just be a discussion. That should be a thought out process, and you should date for some time. Okay? Sex leads. You have sex before you know where you stand in a relationship. This is for men and women. And I know a lot of time women are the ones that get the butt end of this. But when you allow someone to mount your body and you haven't investigated the demons that are within them, you have low self-esteem. You have no idea what really happens during sex. And I don't say that to scare you, but I say it to really, I have an episode called STD. S is in Sam, T like Tom, D like dog. Spiritually transmitted diseases. It's all about kind of what takes place during sex. Go on YouTube and check that out. Heartbreak Hill Podcast, and then type in STDs. But a sign of low self-esteem is that you have sex with someone before you guys have determined you are in a committed relationship. Now, some people don't want a committed relationship. If they're having sex and don't want a committed relationship, then their self-esteem is lower than low. There's a different type of word for that, because then you shouldn't be having sex, because there are gadgets and gadgets and roses and toys and silicone and all types of things that you can get to have sex without it being a person. So when people say that they have sex without wanting a commitment, they're not being real. You want somebody. It's not just about sex, or you would go to sex world. It's not just about sex. It's about connection. And it's about that warmth of a body, which is all coming with a relationship. So play it how you want to. But having sex before you get to that piece is a sign of low self-esteem. You need to know what's going on with somebody internally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And if you're not taking that and you're having sex with them, it's a sign of low self-esteem. Side chick or side man position. Okay. One thing about side chicks that I've come to learn at 28 years old is that oftentimes side chicks are made in one or two circumstances. Either their mother or their family as a child was broken up by a side chick, or their family as an adult was broken up as a side chick, or they were never taught different. They seen side chicks. But the side chick syndrome, or the side men, because men can be side chicks too. Don't mistake that. I mean on a homosexual level and on a level where a man is creeping with someone's wife. So this is for men too. When you decide to take a position and say that I'm going to allow you to not publicly claim me, I'm going to allow you to not publicly be with me, you have low self-esteem. You don't understand your value and your worth. You don't know what God has made you to really and truly be, if you will accept a position like second place. Okay, low self-esteem. Okay, I especially see this. I seen someone. I want to just touch on this again. I seen someone on one. So was this Facebook or Twitter? Actually, I think it was TikTok that says sometimes you have to take a man from an ungrateful woman. And then I seen another girl, and this is Facebook for sure. And she said, you know, her day came when she took a man from a woman, or something that happened to her. And there was a bunch of women commented on there and said, well, I took a man from a woman and we've been doing good. And I took a woman, it was a dude on that said, I took a woman, I bossed her life up. We're doing great. Just give it time. I don't care if it's been 12, 20 years. Give it time. There's more sorrow than you can imagine than when you take someone from someone else. It's a lesson that I learned as a small child, because I've seen it happen in my own eyes. I've seen it. God allowed me to see people sneaking around and taking and playing side chicken, bad things. No matter how long it took, you reap what you sow. And it's never a way out of it unless you repent and fall on your knees and ask God to help you. But outside of that, you're going to get what you're getting. And there's nothing good. Okay? Now, side chick position. Low self-esteem. Back at it. You believe that all men cheat. You believe that all women cheat. That is a sign of low self-esteem. You know why? Because God is very specific when he tells us about who we are and our roles in this life, right? If all men cheated, if all women cheated, if that is just the fact of life, then that would not be the conditions. Adultery would not be the conditions for divorce. When you see marriage outlined, people skip past the part where God says, or Peter says, or Paul says, one of them say, marriage is not for everybody. There are people who decide against it because really it's right after they're talking about, and this is Jesus, as a matter of fact. Oh, I had it right. They're asking him, well, how can you get a divorce? And this, and that. And he says, well, you can get a divorce due to sexual immorality. That's it. Before, there were other reasons you may have gotten a divorce and this and that. You may have even heard that you can't even get a divorce. I studied this topic very, very closely before I got a divorce. So I know what I'm saying here in this topic of divorce realm, I'm saying, in God. People will tell you that you only get one marriage, and that's not what the word of God says. God's word says you can get divorced if that person is sexually immoral, sexual whatever. If it's sexual adultery, whatever the case may be. If God puts something like that in his word, why would you think that all men cheat? Then there's no point in getting married. That is not a true fact of life. The fact of life is that majority will. Majority of men and majority of women. You'd be surprised how many women I've seen cheat throughout my 28 years on this earth. Good at it too. But it's not true for everybody. And if you believe that fact, you have low self-esteem. And do you know why that fact is rooted in low self-esteem? Because it will cause you to accept things that God didn't say you have to accept. It will cause you to be in this place of lack and accepting scraps of a person because you chalk it up. Okay, well, he's a man. It's just, they all cheat. Let me tell you something. All men don't cheat. Men without real, true Christ in their heart do. But all men don't cheat. Don't believe that lie. And if you are believing that lie, and if you even listen to me, it's a sign of low self-esteem. You don't know the truth yet, and that's okay because I'm going to help you. Moving on, okay? You think in romantic relationships, low self-esteem shows up because you think that your child's father or your child's mother is who you should suffer with. Now, let me say what I mean. We have an influx of this community of Black people and people of color in general where we don't have fathers. And oftentimes when the father is ready to leave or doesn't want to be around, he feels guilty. Oftentimes when the mother is in a position, she may not want to leave. So what they'll do is that in order to keep a family construct together, a baby father or a baby mother will stay with the father of their child or the mother of their child just to assume a family role because they really believe if I'm going to go through it with somebody, I might as well go through it with the father of my child, or I might as well go through it with the mother of my child. And by go through it, when I'm talking about go through it, I'm talking about cheating and I'm talking about abuse, okay? I'm talking about physical, emotional, financial abuse, and that encompasses a lot of things. So going through it, okay, is not something that you have to do with the father or the mother of your child. And here's what I mean by that, okay? Because let me just clarify. You will have problems with whoever you're in a relationship with. Please understand that. But there are bigger and better fish to fry than having to constantly go through your child's father or your child's mother. They are addicted to drugs. They want to cheat. They don't have any goals for the future. And you want to stay in that situation for the sake of having a family. That is a low self-esteem mind frame. There are so many other things that you can argue about and go through as a couple outside of the going through it that we're taught, like cheating and abuse. Go back to this. I'm going to go back to this book. I'm going to plug this book in again. Please read this. Because you don't have to stay with your father, the father of your child, or the mother of your child in order to live a fulfilled life and in order to have a family construct. Honestly, that's probably not the person that God wanted you to start a family with anyway. And he tried to show you that before the baby came. But you didn't listen, and that's okay because you got a beautiful baby out the deal. But don't think just because you made that mistake of choosing the person that you had a child by, that you have to stay in that situation for the sake of a family. God did not say that. Don't think that that's what that is, okay? You will go through things with every person that you're with. But when it becomes abusive, when it becomes cheating, that's not something that's normal in every relationship. You know what normal couples argue about? I'll tell you because they write in. The women and the men, they write in and they tell me some of the struggles. You know what are some of the go through it that are normal? I had a guy write in, this was just last week, and he said that he's having an issue with his wife because she has low confidence in herself. And he feels like at work, she just lets people do whatever. And it really bothers him. That's a problem that they're having. Can you imagine such a problem? Such a small problem like that? Another girl. She loves her husband. Well, I think this is her boyfriend. This is probably a few months ago. But this is just, relationship. She said that her husband allows his family to always, they're wealthy. He allows his family to always call and ask for money. And they've been going through that, and she hates that about him. But would you rather have a husband that you have to tell how to say no than a husband who cheats and beats, or a boyfriend who cheats and beats on you, or a baby daddy that you have to tell, baby, I don't want you to be so generous. You guys argue about how generous he is versus you having to argue with him because he's steady cheating and he's steady beating on you. Or you have a woman, all she wants to do is be loose, and all she want to do is be in the club and do this and cheat and whatever. You can have other problems. I'm not telling you that leaving a relationship is going to fix all of your problems. Please don't think that that's what I'm saying. You will be lonely for the rest of your life if you think you're going to get in a relationship and there's going to be no issues. But I'm telling you that if going through it is cheating, if it's abuse, mental, physical, financial, even spiritual abuse, that's not normal going through it. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to be stuck with that. And your baby father, your baby mother, that might not even be who God wanted you to be with in the first place. It might just be taught. But if you think that you have to stay with them and you rather go through it with them than go through it with somebody else, that's a low self-esteem mindset. Let me move along because I don't got that much time. Okay. You stay in a relationship knowing it's not God's will for you. You know that when a relationship is not God's will for you, because he will show you. He will allow that person to hurt you to an astronomical amount. And then if you still don't get it, he'll send friends and families to tell you this is not the person for you. And then if you still don't get it, guess what? God makes that person have a baby on you. And guess what? If you still don't get it, more babies come, and then STDs and all that follows. You're going to get it. When God has something in mind for you or not in mind for you, he's going to have his way regardless. So whatever God has to do to break that relationship that you don't want to leave, it's going to happen. And by the way, when a person has a baby on you, whether you guys were in a break or whether you guys are, breaking up and making up, once a person has a baby with someone else, that is God literally telling you to G-O, because another human being has been entered. And if there's no bigger sign than that a person is not ready to be fully committed, even if you're married to them. You're not called in that position. I just want you to know that, okay? Now, another sign of low self-esteem. You show him or her off more than they show you off. Maybe on social media. I want to talk to the ladies for a second about this. I understand that guys may not be as hip or maybe not as in tune to social media as women are. I get that. And maybe you have a man that doesn't post on social media. This is not for you. This is for the females who, men, and males too, who have partners who have social media. But strictly women, like I said, if you have a man and you're on social media and you post him more than he posts you, or you have it that you're in a relationship and he doesn't, that is a sign of low self-esteem. I know that seems petty, but let me finish. Hear me out. Do you know how women have a intuition, like they can sense when things God gave us? We have an intuition where we just know things without being told. Men have that same type of thing, but it's not intuition. It's more so in terms of men can sense when you are more invested than they are. Did you know that? Did you know that a man can tell when you like him more than he likes you? Very easily. Even if you're trying to play hard to get, it shows up. You can't hide what's inside. It'll always come out. If you like a man more than he likes you, it shows up. And there's a sixth sense that a man has to exploit that. So it shows up as low self-esteem, because why are you going out of your way to advertise to the world that this is your man and he's not doing the same for you? It's an indicator that low self-esteem light is on, because you should celebrate those who celebrate you. Now, maybe he's just not that type of person to do that on social media. But if we're in this thing together, you shouldn't be that type either. He should want you just as much or more as you want him. Same for the men. If you have a woman and she's doing too much on social media, she's posting naked, she's doing that. That's a sign. and you're okay, and you're not having a problem, that's a sign that you have low self-esteem too, sir. It just shows up in different ways. With the women, it more so shows up. You're posting him more than he's posting you. With the men, it more so shows up. You have low self-esteem if you have a woman that you're claiming and she's particularly loose and doing things on social media that a single woman shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? That a woman in a relationship shouldn't be doing. Okay? Keep going. I got 3 more left in the romantic and dating parts of low self-esteem. Then I'm going to keep going. You call your boyfriend, your baby dad, or your baby mother your spouse. That's a sign of low self-esteem. You know why? Marriage is honorable among all. No matter what culture, no matter what religion, no matter where you are in the world, marriage is always going to be the most superior relationship that you can have with a human being, and everybody will agree with that. Besides, I'm not talking about parenting. I'm talking about in terms of love. Baby daddy, baby mama don't count. It's not on the same level of marriage. You know why? Because marriage brings God into it. You could claim that marriage on paper all you want, but let me tell you something. When you get married, before you had a ceremony, and I always say this, I'm going to say it again, because I need you guys to know this. Right? You don't call your boyfriend or your girlfriend your spouse. Don't do that to yourself. And don't call your baby daddy, your baby mama your spouse either. When you sign that paper, it's a paper you sign, before you get in front of the church and the preacher and y'all all there. There's something that takes place in the chambers where there ain't nobody but you, the judge, a Bible, and witnesses. So there can be somebody to know, and somebody's going to sign the paper. You'll have a witness, he'll have a witness. And they'll say, I heard this person say this. You put your hand on a Bible and you raise it and you repeat after that judge and you say some very deep things. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So even when I remember there was a rumor going on that I had got married to a person for some type of gain. I would never play like that. I wouldn't play with myself or my time like that. I wouldn't play with another individual like that, because once you swear, whether you mean it or not, you're bound. They don't tell you this part. When you sign on that signature and the witnesses come, you just bounded yourself with your mouth. And the only way to get up out of it, you sign one paper when you get married, and it's 1,000 papers you sign when you get divorced. That's the only way to get up out of it, what you said out your mouth. So when you call your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your baby dad or your baby mom your spouse, you put them in a category that they don't belong in. They don't belong in a certain type of category. You know why? Because y'all ain't in it yet. Marriage is a choice that you make. So if you're not married, it's a reason why y'all not married yet. Don't call them that. And if you calling them that now, I see women on Facebook and they've been with their boyfriends for 10 years and they did this common law marriage. No, it's not. It's not the same thing. You go to states like New York and all that. If you've been with somebody 12, 20 years and y'all ain't married on paper, it's not the same thing. Don't kid yourself. And don't call them that, because that's not what they are. It's a difference. It's a different level. It's a sign of low self-esteem. I see women and girls on Facebook and they're saying that this is my spouse. This is my spouse, or my spouse, this is my, and you know that all they have is children in common. Not that that's not important and that that's not a bond, but that is not your spouse. There's a certain type of grace and favor that comes when you sticking it out with your spouse and they doing wrong. That does not come with a baby daddy and a baby mother. When you are in a husband and wife relationship and you stay in it even though they're treating you wrong, there's a blessing that comes with that. You sit up here calling this Mark your husband and he doing everything but doing you right, and you doing it all in vain. You sit up here calling this hoochie your wife, and she everything but that. Don't do that to yourself. And if you're doing it, it's a sign of low self-esteem. Okay? 2 more things of how low self-esteem shows up in romantic relationships. Okay? You date the exes of your friends, associates, and families. I think I already touched on this. But if you date the ex of somebody that you are related to or know in any capacity, you have low self-esteem. This world is too big. That means that you just wanted who wanted you. You wanted who was willing to be with you at that time, and you should be more choosy than that, especially if you're a woman. You got the world at your fingertips. You just don't know. You don't have to date nobody sloppy seconds. You don't have to go behind your sister, your brother, your cousin, or whoever it is you're dating after. You don't have to do that. You're a woman. You can have anybody you want. Same with you. If you're a man, you have a certain type of power too. You don't have to go behind and date. And somehow we've tricked our men into thinking it's cool. I hate that. I don't like no man that didn't slept behind you or your family. Now, in a situation where you meet this person later in life, like I was in a situation where I dated a guy in high school. when I got grown, I got married to somebody that he grew up with. I met him on my own. I never had, I was never introduced to this person while I dated the guy. You understand? And when I dated this guy in high school, we'll call him Jim. When I dated Jim in high school, I didn't know, he didn't introduce me to this guy or anything like that. I met this other guy later on in life. Okay. Now, some people had a feeling about that because they're very close. Some people thought that I was wrong for that. I didn't feel wrong for that because I did not have any tie to this person through my ex. You understand what I'm saying? This person that I got married to didn't date none of my friends or nothing like that. If you are doing that, it's a sign of low self-esteem. Okay. Last but not least, signs of low self-esteem in a romantic relationship, dating relationships. You cheat and complain instead of leaving. You're always going to have trouble. I already said that in relationships. But a lot of times when women are not strong enough to leave a relationship, you know what they do? They complain every day. Now, a lot of women are afraid to be alone. They don't want to say that, or they're afraid to be a single mother. Again, read that book, Level Up. Kiana Footman, I'll drop the link. Read that book if you are scared. But instead of leaving, what they'll do is they'll begin to tear the man down. And they'll begin to complain and critique. And you just know that this is not who you want to be with. But instead of, you being stronger, you'll just break them down. A lot of times with a man, if he don't want to be with a woman no more, instead of him leaving, he'll just cheat on her. He'll just get something on the side, something like that. It's low self-esteem because you are essentially admitting that you are not worthy of a better relationship. So you're going to stay inside of this relationship, hoping that the other person makes a move versus making a move on your own. That's low self-esteem. Okay? 2 more areas. 3 more. We're going to hurry up and like wrap this up, you guys. I only got 10 more minutes, okay? In your lifestyle, low self-esteem shows up like this, okay? Communication style is always interrupting others. If you're always interrupting people, you may have low self-esteem, okay? You don't want to allow other people to talk because you want to show what you know and you want to get out what you have to say so bad. It's a sign of low self-esteem if can't nobody else talk. And this is even in disagreements, other people should be able to vocalize what they think and feel without you interrupting them. If you can't even be quiet enough to let a person finish their thought, you may have low self-esteem. You are rude to public, rude to staff, rude to people at fast food restaurants, rude to people in the airport. It's a sign of low self-esteem. People who have high self-esteem are nice. People who have high self-esteem are kind for no reason at all. If you're just mean like this and I used to go out with a lady. We used to go out to places, and every time we went through a drive-thru, she would give people a hard time. I mean, it was so cringy. I used to be like, and then she was really miserable. She had low self-esteem, but that's a sign. You're rude to others in public. Daily drug use. If you have to be high every day, and this is coming from somebody who also knows about abusing marijuana, so I'm not, pointing fingers or nothing like that. I'm just saying, if you have to smoke weed every day, it's an indicator of low self-esteem because, only because instead of confronting what's within yourself, you are masking it with drugs, and that includes weed, okay? Drug use means daily drugs, daily smoking weed, daily smoking anything, okay? Daily drinking. If you do it every day, if you got to do it every day, it's a sign that there's other things going on. Don't make you, look, it's a sign that something's going on and there's a self-esteem issue there, okay? You have no long-term or short-term goals. It's a sign of low self-esteem. You make jokes of others in public. We already touched on that. You are afraid to give other people compliments. I know people, men and women, who won't tell other people that they're cute because they feel like, I don't want her to think she's too cute. That's a sign of low self-esteem, okay? You accept compliments with exceptions. If somebody tells you, oh, that's a cute shirt, you might say, oh, this whole thing, instead of just saying thank you. Or they may say, oh, I really like your hair. Yeah, girl, it's old. That's a sign of low self-esteem. Just say thank you. You should just be able to say thank you and leave it at that. Not this or that. Just thank you. That should be good enough. Okay? Let me keep going. You throw rocks, but you hide your hand. You don't know how to directly confront others with things. So rather than you confronting them about what you think or what you feel, you'll throw rocks and you'll hold your hand. Okay, you will be the type of person that will maybe make a subliminal message on Facebook, and people won't know who or what you're talking about, but you'll just do that. You know what I mean? That's a sign of low self-esteem. Because even if you are not sure how the other person is going to take what you say, you should be able to say something about it or not say something about it, but you don't do both. You don't throw the rock or throw the subliminal message on Facebook and then, say, that's not what I meant, or no, I didn't mean, you know what I mean? You just don't do that, So that's definitely a sign of having low self-esteem. Okay. Moving on to the next thing. You are loud or over dramatic in the presence of attractive people. That is a sign of low self-esteem, because when you have low self-esteem, when you have low self-esteem, you want attention even if it's negative. Okay. And so sometimes what you'll see girls do is they'll get in the presence of an attractive boy and they may get extra loud, or they may do stuff that they don't actually do. Or if you're a boy, some pretty girls might come around and all of a sudden you Chief Keef. All of a sudden you OTF like Lil Durk. All of a sudden you move a pound. It's this whole persona. That's a sign of low self-esteem. We make jokes about that kind of stuff, but really you don't feel enough as you are. So you embellish and you act a fool. Okay. Parenting. So that was just lifestyle. Okay. That was just lifestyle parenting. Okay. This is a hard one, but it's a true one. Okay. How low self-esteem may show up in your parenting style. Okay. You have a lack of respect for your child. Okay. People who have low self-esteem don't respect their children. And they don't respect their children because they'll do things like smoke and drink in their child's presence. If your child is under 18, they're supposed to be in their room when adult things is going on. And I'm just being honest. So if you don't respect your child on that basic level, you have low self-esteem. How you talk to your child. Boy moms, you can say things to a man or a little boy that will break him inside forever. You really need to know that. Same with your daughters. As a parent, you have a very, 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 very influential impact on the words that you say. So if you're not respecting him or her or whoever it is that you have as a child, you have low self-esteem. Okay. If you're always critical about your child's appearance. I know mothers who, no matter what their child does or wears, they have something to say about their child. Their appearance, their hair, their this, their that. That's a sign of low self-esteem. You don't do that to people, not even your children. You teach your daughters to not like other females, or you teach your sons to not like other males. Basically, you teach them to be against friendships. I can only really speak on a women thing because I know that a lot of times females who have low self-esteem, they teach their daughters to have low self-esteem as well by teaching them that in order to be superior, you have to be alone. And that in order to be a superior woman, you can't have any friends, or you can't, and that's false, guys. You need friends. You need friends in this world, and you may not need a whole lot of them. Okay. You may not need a bunch of them, but you need some to some degree. Okay. You need friends in your life, and you need them deeply. And if you are teaching your sons or you're teaching your daughters that friends don't matter and that they don't need friends, okay, then you may have low self-esteem. You can teach them to know how to be trustworthy, or you can teach them the qualities to look for in a good friend. Okay. But in all actuality and in all technicalities, when you're telling don't feel I don't do females, I don't, low self-esteem. You don't know how. You don't have friends because you don't know how to be a friend. Your children have popularity and fashion, but no knowledge of Christ. That is a sign of low self-esteem. If you don't do anything in this world besides teach your child that God loves them so much that he died, and that there's a Bible that gives them instructions on how to live this life, and that can reveal secrets to them. If that's all you do, and you don't do anything like feed, clothe them, what you've done your job as a parent. Did you know that? Read your word. If that's all you ever do for your child is teach them about God, you've done your job as a parent. The food and then the clothing, that's extra. If you teach them that. So if your child have all that other stuff, but don't got, you are a parent with low self-esteem. You don't value the right things. You down talk your children to others. This is even as adults. There are so many mothers. I had a girl tell me one time that she got into it with her friend, and her mother called that friend up and they talked about her for hours on the phone. When you have low self-esteem as a parent, and oftentimes this is how your parents did you, you will talk about your child like a person on the street. You will really go there. You will talk about them. You will down them. You will belittle them. You will come at them like that. Low self-esteem. Okay? You call your child names like fat, stupid, ugly. Most people in my community will blame this on being mad. But let me tell you something, because I strongly dislike parents that do that. It make me want to fight moms when I hear them talking to their child, like calling them the B word, or when I hear them calling their son the B word, or hear them calling their daughter like fat and stuff like that. It make me want to fight moms like that. You know why? Because it's really how you feel about yourself. It's how you feel on the inside of you that has you talking to your child like that. But I don't hate you. And if you're a mom like that, I understand it gets frustrating. You call your child, you call them fat, stupid, ugly, all of that before. We're going to help you fix that. But we got to recognize it first. It's a sign of low self-esteem. If you have done that to your child, even as an adult, if they're an adult, the fact that they're your child, you shouldn't be able to do that. It's a sign of low self-esteem. Okay? 2 more for parents with low self-esteem. You downplay your child's faults, but you light up the faults of other children. I want to sit here for a second because this was me, and I'm telling you this like I'm telling you this. It's not always the leaning tree that falls. Be careful how you speak on other people's children and how you say, oh, that one is bad and my child is too good to be around it. Be careful. And she's going to end up pregnant and she's going to end up. Be careful with that in terms of other children. It's not always the leaning tree that falls. My mother told me that a long time ago, and I didn't understand what she meant until I was the child that was talked about and became the adult that they wanted their children to be like. Don't put your mouth so much. Don't down other children so much and say that your child will never, your child is up here. Don't do that. Don't be like that because God will humble you. God will humble you in a way. And it'll be your child that'll be the ringleader of all the crap. So just be quiet. If you're not going to tell what your child did, or if you think, just be quiet. Don't talk about nobody kids. Don't even talk about kids at all. But be careful with thinking that your child sugar, honey, iced tea don't stink. Please be careful with that because I don't want you to bring this type of stuff into your life because it's heartbreaking for a parent. But sometimes as parents, you can bring it on yourself by exposing other children, not exposing your own. Okay? You have a different set of moral standards for your boys than your girls. This is the last one, and this is very popular in people with people of color. Oftentimes, we will love our boys and teach our girls. We will tell our boys about having safe sex, and we'll tell our girls about having no sex. There should be the same type of moral standard for both sexes in your household, because guess what? I'll just use sex as an example. It will affect them the same way. A woman has a vagina, but the damage that having sex with the wrong soul can do to a person, that's true for a boy and a girl. So if you have different levels of moral standards for your boys and your girls, you might be a parent with low self-esteem. Okay? Lastly, the last thing, and I'm going to get up out of here, okay? Because listen, we pay for this airtime nowadays. We're on Channel 17, Comcast Network. Listen, I appreciate you guys all for the support, but I got to hurry up and get up out of here because, game ain't free. It's never free. All right? Financially, how does low self-esteem show up financially? Okay? You are not currently donating 10% of your earnings to a church. Don't argue with me on this. Just try it. And the reason why I say it's a low self-esteem thing, because if only you knew what that's going to do to your finances. It's not the same as donating to an organization. I'm talking about an actual church. Find a Christian church that teaches the Bible and donate 10% of your paycheck to it. Your life will change. If you're not doing that to your finances, you have low self-esteem in your finances. You don't understand yet. You don't understand just quite yet. You have no consistent recurring savings. It's hard to save. I get that. But most people that tell me that it's hard to save are people that also tell me it's hard to have a budget or it's hard to exercise. That just means that it's not something that they want to do. Nobody ever wants to save. It's not something that you are ever going to feel like doing, but it must be done. I live off of 80% of my income. Okay. And I can show you how to set your accounts up that way. Shoot us an email. 10% of my income. I don't even see it. It goes into a special little bank account. 10%. I don't even see it. And then another 10%. 10% is savings. I don't see it. I don't touch it. 10% goes right into a tithing account that I use strictly for giving to churches. Now, I just recently found another church home, but before I was taking that 10% and I was breaking it up amongst churches, because I didn't have a church home. But still, I live off 80% of my income. That's a guaranteed way where you will never be broke if you split your income like I just told you. But if you don't have a consistent recurring savings, financially, you have low self-esteem, okay? You don't know what's on your credit report. How can you do anything in this world without knowing where you stand first? How can you count the cost if you don't know where you stand? You don't have to use credit, but you should know what's on your report. And if you don't, you have low self-esteem. You don't have a budget or any financial goals. So when your money comes in, it just kind of dips. You don't tell your money where to go. Your money flies to whatever bills are due. You don't have a budget. Financial goals are in terms of you should not be focused on being and having to pay a car note for the rest of your life. There should be some type of plan in place. And you don't maybe know this. So that's okay. This is not about you being a bad, stupid, wicked person. But these are signs of low self-esteem. The value of oneself. These are things, okay? You don't have any thoughts about retirement. You buy things to impress other people. You lie or you embellish how much you make in order to appear affluent or important. Okay? I want to make sure that we have a firm and clear understanding that in terms of your life, you have the option to change your thinking and to change your circumstances. Now, in the areas that I just talked about, friendship, romantic relationships, lifestyles, parenting, and finances, low self-esteem is going to show up the hardest in those places, okay? If you met anything on that list, that does not mean you're a bad person. And I'm going to keep saying that because oftentimes when we've never heard something about ourselves before, you couldn't have listened to those lists without picking up something. You got called, your number was called, and that's okay. But it can feel uncomfortable, and it can make us think that we're bad. And you're not bad, but you're uninformed. And we're going to help you here at Heartbreak Hill Podcast. We're going to help you get that self-esteem up, okay? Next week, we are going to be talking about what is the cure. Now, I told you what low self-esteem is, how to know if you have it. What is the cure? How do you get better? How do you get high self-esteem? Join us next week on Heartbreak Hill Podcast, and we will tell you. Now, listen. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me. If you are watching us live right now, please stay tuned because we are going to read the question of the week right after this. If you are listening to us on the podcast, listen, we are here every week, heartbreakhillpodcast.com, for all the latest updates on our show. Listen, we are breaking hearts, blowing minds, one conversation at a time. Podcast.com. Now let's go ahead and get started with the question of the day. All right, this question. So if you are new here, what we like to do is we like to tell people to write in. As you were able to hear the intro video, if you're watching us live, you may or may not have been able to watch or hear the intro video. But weekdays, 7 p.m., Heartbreak Hill Podcast is on channel 17 on the Comcast cable network. Now, we also do something called Question of the Week. So every time I run a podcast episode, before we were doing it where people just write in questions and I would kind of just write them back, okay? That got very overwhelming. So what we started doing, I believe last season or beginning of this season, was when people write in, we are going to be reading the emails on air and I'm going to be answering them to the best of my ability. Okay. Now, sometimes I have the option to read the question kind of before I read it on air. And then other times I read the question just for the first time. I'm looking at it fresh. Okay. This particular instance is my first time reading this question, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. I think it's a really, really good one. It was picked for me by Todd. Todd is one of the guys, one of the producers at the show, and he helps pick through all the emails. So your email may or may not get read, but send it in, okay? When I am on layovers, when I'm doing things, I do respond still to those emails. So don't think that just because we're starting to read them that I don't respond. I still get them. It's just that certain ones are picked out of the many, okay? This is a good one. Okay, this is going to be, I'm just waiting on it to load here. Okay, this is going to be from Bridget in Montana. Oh, no, Bridget in Santa Monica. Okay, nice. Bridget in Santa Monica says this. Hello, Rose Gold. I appreciate listening to you every week. I also love your lipstick colors. Thank you. I appreciate that. I am currently a head youth pastor at my church here in Santa Monica. I have been so for the last 4.5 years. I really enjoy what I do, and I enjoy making a difference in the lives of the youth. My problem is I'm thinking about stepping down. I don't know. I'm stepping down because I still like to turn up. It's in quotation marks. I still like to turn up on the weekends. I feel hypocritical because I am teaching kids about making good choices, and yet I am struggling with bad choices on my own. I have been a youth pastor for the last 4.5 years, but I have only recently started getting deep into my faith, okay, and really understanding what this walk means. I'm being conflicted. I feel conflicted for being hypocritical. What do you think that I should do? That is a very, very good question. Todd, good job picking this out, and good job to you as well, sweetheart, for writing that. That is an excellent question because I struggle with this same thing. It is difficult when you get to a place in your spiritual journey and you think you have to be one way or the other, right? And I say be one way or the other because you said that you were thinking about stepping down. And I really want to hint on this because I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to still smoke and drink, but then still be saying yes to a calling that God has on your life, or still saying yes to him in general, okay? I would tell you, do not quit your post, okay? I would say you should talk to your leader about what you struggle with. And if he or she is a good leader, they will help you. Now, they may tell you to step down, or they may not. It just depends on your leader. But I will go to your leader and I will tell you that you are not a hypocrite. Hypocrites to me are people who come in the name of God and they're living a secret life otherwise. That's not what you're doing. You're coming forth and you're saying, I struggle because a part of me still turns up and I like to, but I also want to say yes to God. That is a common thing. Don't you let no Pharisee walking this earth tell you that before you say yes to God, you shouldn't drink or you shouldn't smoke. You have to say yes first. And then gradually, as you submerge yourself, you will drink and smoke less and less. I'm a witness to this. You will want to do it less because you become so busy with your purpose and you become so consumed with doing what you want to do. You don't even want to be drunk and high all the time because you start to notice that when you're drunk and high, you're not attuned to the Holy Spirit like you should be. So you miss things. And you don't, as you get deeper with God, you're not going to want to do that. But don't feel like I need to say no to, I'm going to stop drinking. And once I stop drinking and I don't drink no more, then I'm going to say yes to God. Or once I stop smoking, people will make you feel that way. People will tell you. I had a preacher tell on a pulpit say one time, on a pulpit church say, if you came into here and you was at the club last night, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's the worst thing I've ever heard a preacher say. That same preacher also said, how can you smoke weed and then come to me and say you want to follow God? That's a sad thing to say. God said, when God is saying come as you are, he means bring the weed, bring the alcohol, bring the gambling, bring whatever addictions you have. Come as you are. Just don't want to stay that way. And the fact that you even wrote in and was able to say something like that, you don't want to stay that way. So my advice to you, ma'am, would be Don't feel like you have to stop smoking and drinking before you say yes to God. You said you just got serious, and that makes sense because you're at a point where you are growing, and that's a sign of growth. Go to your leader about what you struggle with. Tell him or her that you struggle still with smoking and drinking, and see what they have to say to you. But don't quit. And don't stop going to church. And don't stop praying. And don't stop doing whatever it is that you're doing for God. Keep doing it. He'll get rid of that smoking and drinking. He'll get rid of that for you. Listen, Heartbreak Hill Podcast. I'm your host, Rose Gold. And like I said earlier, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. We are here Wednesdays, 7 p.m., channel 17, okay? This episode likely air in the next 2 Wednesdays, okay? Also, if you want to be on the show, you got suggestions, hbhp at heartbreakhillpodcast.com. We are breaking hearts, blowing minds, one conversation at a time. Thank you so much for tuning in to Heartbreak Hill Podcast. Our mission here is to use multimedia channels to break generational curses in our thought process. Our motto here is breaking hearts, blowing minds, one conversation at a time. Please note that our entire production is brought forth by listeners and viewers just like you. Thank you. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our website at heartbreakhillpodcast.com.